So, Evil Dead the game's been out a while, and you've probably seen the thousands of videos saying that this character's OP, that character's OP, the demons are OP, everything in the game is fucking OP. It's not. I think the game is actually pretty well balanced. But there are design problems for demon players that I wanted to point out in this video. Ones that can hopefully be fixed in future updates. I think we need to keep this game fun and fair, because if the game runs out of demon players, there's no fucking game.
You and Windows check the inside.
I ain't going with Windows. I ain't going with it. I'll go with Child.
Hey, fuck you, Palmer!
No, not the guy from John Carpenter's The Thing. These fucking windows. Survivors can hop out of windows, but demons gotta use the front door for some reason. Maybe demons are more respectful of homeowners or something, I don't know. The issue here is that it makes survivors extremely difficult to engage when you're possessing a unit, and basically the player just runs down your energy until you lose control of that unit. Now, it's not impossible to counter. If a player goes through a window a few times, I'll usually just give up control of the unit and try to switch to another one outside or spawn some if there isn't any. But it's still a major problem, especially in areas where there's a lot of buildings, or early in the game when demon players don't have a huge amount of energy for multiple possessions or summons. There's a couple of fixes for this. Friday the 13th actually had a similar issue, but the difference was that Jason could smash windows, and if players climbed through a smash window, they would take a bit of damage, so they could copy that mechanic. Or more straightforward would just be to allow demon units to climb out of fucking windows too, so that they can give chase. I think they probably initially designed the game this way to give survivors a bit of breathing room if they found themselves trapped in a house. Which is fair enough, because it can get frustrating if you're backed into a corner. But as always, some players just seem to exploit everything that they can. Now, you just knew that cars were going to be open to abuse, and sure enough, a few days in the game and players were already finding, creative ways of using them. I've seen cars used as distractions, general trolling and time wasting, and even building a fucking mini base around objectives. Now, the maps are pretty big, so I guess you can't get rid of them. Possessing works okay in some cases, but the energy cost is too high. No, I think the major issue is that there's just too many of them. I've lost count of the amount of times I've spent a huge amount of energy and time dealing with just one lone hunter player in his car, only to have him quickly jump into another one of the 20 cars lying around the place. I think with cars, they just need to be a bit rarer, something valuable that's just best used to quickly get teams to objectives. Maybe they could add in some huge explosion damage for survivors that think they're playing fucking Minecraft. The respawn system just seems straight up unfair. You see, in one game I ended up killing and incapacitating players 32 times. That's more than I've ever got in fucking something like Halo. They just kept coming back to life like some relentless demon. Hey, hang on a minute, aren't I supposed to be the relentless fucking demon? The main problem I have with the system is that when survivors capture either the dagger or the pages, any dead players are then respawned. What the fuck? This basically promotes split caps, because there's not a lot you can do. Sure, you can kill the 1 or 2 players that go after the other objective, but by the time you've done that, the first objective will be pretty much complete. And then the players you've just killed respawn, leaving all 4 to regroup on the next objective. As it stands, killing survivors is just a slight inconvenience, and the timer on incapacitated survivors is so fucking long that the only viable way of killing anyone is to dump a boss unit over them and then just fucking camp. Honestly, the best way to fix this is to rip off the Left 4 Dead system, where a downed player can be revived with no penalty, but if they're downed again, they revive with less max health. And finally, if they're downed for a 3rd time, they're just dead and out of the game. If this proves too harsh, then each survivor could be respawned just once. Now, this one's not super common, but I've started seeing it more and more. Survivors backpedal away from you, shining their torch in your face. And this thing's brighter than the fucking Death Star laser. I don't know whether players are doing this intentionally, or if they just don't know that the torch is so blinding. But you really can't see what the fuck's going on, and if other survivors have their torches on too, it makes it really difficult to figure out who's who, and it makes target prioritizing really fucking frustrating. The fix for this is simple, just turn down the lights. Or you could implement target lock. You could add target lock in for the survivors too, and it would just help with some of the more messy aspects of combat, and would make acquiring and switching targets just so much easier and faster for everybody. Now, the start of the game is arguably the worst part for a demon player, and it comes down to the map pieces. The first issue is, you can't fucking see them, so you can spend the first 3 or 4 minutes just floating around the map, hoping to get a beat on the survivors. And if you have a team that's careful about controlling fear levels and not using the car at the start, the only way you're going to find anyone is through sheer luck. Now, I know the survivors are meant to be hidden, which is fine, I like that mechanic. It's just I think the pages should be visible to the demon player, so at least they have a goal at the start. It would give them a chance to set up a few traps at least. And if they just happen to be at the same map piece as the survivors, they're still not much of a threat early on anyway, because you can't spawn anything. The second issue with the map pieces is that they're collected way too fast. Check this out. Yep, that's all 3 pieces collected in under a minute and a half. Yeah, this is a pretty extreme example, but I've lost count of the amount of times that teams have gotten a piece within the first minute, and they usually go on to collect all 3 a few minutes later. This could probably be solved by having the pieces spread out as much as possible, maybe add in an extra piece, and make sure the survivors start further away from them. Combined with the demon player being able to see where the map pieces are, I think this will prevent, or at least alleviate matches that are over too quickly, and matches where the demon player is more of a joke than a threat. In the right hands and situations, this is probably the biggest issue in the game today. So in one game the book was out and 3 survivors were dead, and I believe the final player was playing Evil Dead 2 Ash. I knew I didn't have enough time to take out the book, so I prioritized on killing him. An easy win, right? Well, this was the first time that I realized that the finisher animations could be a huge problem. I just couldn't hit this fucker. A quick 2-hit combo was all it took for him to activate the finisher, which was pretty long in itself, but once over he'd just quickly hit another unit 2 times and activate the finisher again. The guy was basically fucking immortal. When I figured out what was going on, I quickly stopped spawning any units and pulled out Henrietta, but the fat bitch is slow as fuck, and AI units just kept running in at him, fueling his invincibility. When people say shit's broken, it's usually an exaggeration, but in this case I think it's warranted, as you can use the same trick anywhere in the game, collecting pages or capturing objectives. Now as a demon player, you can try to possess the unit that's being attacked before a finisher is activated. But this was really hard against Ash, as all he had to do was hit a unit twice. Plus, even if you get the timing right, the player just switches to another target anyway. But I think there's an easy fix for this, it's just to add a cooldown for the finishers, so the player is forced to either flee or engage in combat with the demon player after they've killed a few units. So, fellow demon players, have you noticed any other issues about the game? Let me know in the comments below. I still love this game and it's really fun playing the demon. And honestly, the majority of players don't really exploit these issues, but I hope they can be ironed out eventually to prevent the players that do. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this one. See you in the next video, Gorehounds.